Okay, now we've sewn from this edge all the way around, and we've gotten to the arm, where we're going to sew the arm in. You can see I've sewn right next to it. Now, because I'm me, I like to drop a knot in just to make sure that my fat fingers out of the way, the stitches won't go anywhere. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to do a back stitch. I'm going to come back into this hole here of this stitch. You see this right here? Sometimes it's hard for me to see because there's shine on my camera phone. Okay, so let's wind this around. And I'm going all the way through the back. This is very similar to if you've made any of my other pieces, anything from a pattern, the back stitch from the kitten pattern to attach the ears. So as you can see, I put a stitch there. I'm going to come through here, and I'm going to drop another one. Okay. Oops. Come back here, you. And I've still got this pin in, so the arm can't move, but I'm also holding this pretty tightly as well. I don't want anything to wiggle out of the way. And I'm still keeping really close. I'm trying to keep the stitches at about the same width apart, or the same distance apart from the seam as the blanket stitches, or whip stitches, whichever you care to do. So, and I'm always flipping to the back side because, again, another weird idiosyncrasy. Even though no one's ever going to see this, I want to make sure that the stitches are where I want them to go and how I want them to look. I call this my inner Wilma. Okay, so you can see I'm almost done there. Now I do the same thing that I do when I get to the end of this section that I did here. I'm going to drop a knot. I'm not removing that pin, however, oh, itchy nose, until I know that the arm is completely sewn in, at least from the front. I'm going to take that out so you can see I've got one more little bit here, and I'm going to come back up through. It's a little harder. You're holding on to a lot more felt. And I'm going to kind of, let's look over here. Where'd it go? There it is. And now I'm doing a blanket stitch. And I'm going to drop a knot right there, just to make sure, and I'm pulling it nice and tight. Now I can remove that pin, and I can continue sewing the blanket stitch or whip stitch all the way around. And you can see here I've got kind of a modified hand holding. I've got, instead of my finger being here, it's more the side of my finger that I'm putting the needle against and then pushing through. Okay. Now, in the second part of this video, I'm going to show you how we're going to attach the legs. Now, before I even do that, once I get to about here, then I pin in the other arm. And when I pin in the other arm, you'll notice that there's already some space taken up here. What you can do is push this arm up a little bit, and now you'll have enough space to pin in the other arm, just the same way as you did the previous one. So I'll see you in a couple of minutes, and then I'll show you how we'll sew on the legs. Okay, now we've got both of the arms sewn on. We've sewn from this side all the way around to that side. Oh, that glare on my screen is just killing me. And so we're here, and it's time to sew on the legs. And you can see I have some thread here all ready to go. Now, here are the two legs. We're going to be doing a similar way of pinning these, and you want to make sure that when you are pinning the legs in place, that you are pinning them in such a way that the the feet face the correct direction. Now, believe me, when I'm when I'm hurrying, I sometimes have to stop and check myself. While we've had things pinned this way and the arms go that way, what we're going to do for the bottom is we're going to open these up a little bit and they're going to go the opposite direction. So the seam is going to be running down the front of the foot. You can see here on the example. Okay, so remember, we're pinning to the inside, which means that the heel, I always think the heel needs to go to the back because it just makes more sense. Oops, and I forgot to stuff. You got to take the arms and kind of poke them both up a little bit. So you can kind of see they're poked up in there. So I always think heel to the back, not heel to the front, heel to the back. And I'm going to do the same thing I did with the arms, because you've got, where's my other piece of thread here? Here it is. And you can choose how long. I mean, if you want to have them pop up only about this far, that's fine. Let's see, let's move these over. And that looks good. I try to keep them as straight as possible. I'm going to take a pin, and since I've already got this sewn and I already dropped that knot in, I'm going to take a pin and pop this one in here. I'm not going to put this leg in yet. So you can see I pushed the arms further up. I've made sure that the heel is facing towards the back, and I'm peeking in this little hole here, and I can see there's the little toe there facing towards the front, and I've got my thread. Now remember how we did this. I went back into this hole, and I came back on the other side, and then I take a stitch, and I come up through the front, and I do this all the way across. Now, this is one of those things that I try very hard to make myself slow down for. There are parts in the construction where I just get too eager and stop paying attention. I'm so set on having the piece finished because it's already finished in my mind, or I want to hurry up with this particular step so I can get to the next one, which I find, you know, more exciting, or I get to use the new tool or the new color of something or something else that I'm just excited about, new technique for something. Now you can see I'm getting here close to the edge again. I'm getting really close to where that pin is, and I'm still holding the leg in place just because I don't want it to wiggle around. I've got to admit, wool felt wiggles around a little less than acrylic felt, and that just has to do with the fibers themselves. Okay, once I pull that through, I pull that pin out. Now, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to start off with a knot. Oh, come here, you. Okay, now you're probably wondering what's going to happen when I get to this little flap thing right here. Don't worry. What you're going to do is you're just going to continue. If I can keep my arms on the screen. I notice I have a tendency to pull in and work very close to my body when I'm doing these particular steps. Not exactly sure why. Okay, and you can see where I'm right there. I'm just going to take the next stitch right across. Okay, now I'm going to stop right now because I know I need to get this other leg in. So I do the same thing. Remember, I kind of pinch it, and it's heel to the back. I probably shouldn't have put that stitch in, but I wanted to show you how it was done. Heel to the back. Okay, I can go back in here and pull that tight. And then, can you see how that one's a little crooked? Just position it where it needs to go, and then take a pin. Get your thread out of the way. and that leg will stay there as long as you're holding it. And you can see I'm already on that side, so I can continue. I think I can maybe get all the way to this edge if I try, if I'm being good. Well, not if I'm being good, if I've got enough thread. I'm going to pull that out just so. I really hate like running out of thread. I think I've got just enough to drop a knot in here. Let's see. Ooh, come back this way. It's not going to be a fancy knot. I'm going to drop another one just because I want to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, and then for this one, I'm just gonna hide the tail up through this portion of the leg, and then nip that off, and then sew to this end just like you did here, and tie it off and hide the end. And in the next video, I am going to be showing you how we're going to flip them inside out and then start stuffing.